This program is rated PG and may contain mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
For 6,000 years, this rare, shiny metal seduced explorers, built empires, and drove the engine of our economy.
Gold is synonymous with the pinnacle of life.
To compare something to gold is to suggest that it's the best.
Gold is a beautiful, precious metal that's been cherished through all of recorded history.
We have this magical metal that's good to look at and is easily shaped. You couldn't ask for a better suite of superpowers.
Gold bestows glory on our past and gives inspiration to our future.
Ignition, liftoff.
Who would have thought that this object of ancient desire that was beautiful to look at, that made jewelry, would become the key to technological civilization?
Gold is in everything from medical equipment to satellite components.
Today, we'll look at the impact gold has on our daily lives by imagining a world without it. We're conducting a thought experiment in which we strip away the vital uses and innovations of gold.
Without gold, our entire society would crumble.
All trade, all transactions basically stop.
A world without gold fundamentally today is a world without communication.
We cease to be a technological civilization.
Gold provides a means for understanding our place in the world and where we came from.
This is History Erased, the world without gold. Beautiful, timeless, universal. Gold played a starring role in the drama of human history, for good and for bad. It awakens our greed, fuels our ambitions, and greases the wheels of our economy. Nothing's cast a spell on humanity quite like gold has. In today's thought experiment, we'll follow a busy bullion trader and a goldsmith artisan and her family to see how their lives are impacted when gold and its many uses vanish one by one. Gold is a beautiful and rare metal with an origin story that is literally out of this world.
The most astonishing thing about gold is it's not native to our planet.
Gold very much comes from the cosmos.
The heavy metal was forged in fire more than 4 billion years ago, 1,000 light years away.
Two neutron stars, the dense cores of dead stars, collided, expelled heavy elements, including gold.
Billions of tons of gold rained down on our planet.
So we're very much made of star dust. And the existence of gold on the Earth is evidence of that.
Gold has been collected, molded, traded, and prized for its otherworldly beauty since prehistoric times.
In Bulgaria, a 4-millimeter wide processed gold bead has been found dated 6,500 years ago.
The discovery suggests that gold may be one of the first metals worked by humans.
Gold was an important symbol throughout human history.
Around the world, gold is an integral part of culture and society.
I want to show you something that my mom gave to me.
Gold jewelry and heirlooms account for more than half of the demand for gold worldwide, with the US, China, and India as its biggest consumers.
There's about 25,000 tons of gold in Indian households.
Gold has been woven into India's cultural fabric over the last 5,000 years. Artifacts like these first-century royal earrings flaunt India's mastery of early goldsmithing.
In India, gold jewelry is even considered a cultural expression of its history and aesthetics.
Gold illuminates festivals across India, but no celebration shines brighter than an Indian wedding.
There are 10 million weddings per year, and there's a lot of gold changing hands at these weddings.
The wedding ring is a 5,000-year-old tradition cherished by couples around the globe, including our artisan and her husband.
Part of the reason that we use gold for wedding rings is because it's imperishable. It symbolizes the longevity of the love that it commemorates.
Early Romans forged what may have been the first gold wedding ring, depicting clasped hands to signify eternal love and a new beginning of life as a couple. In ancient Egypt, gold also marked a new beginning, the beginning of life after death.
Then for the ancient Egyptians, they went to great extremes to prepare themselves to live forever in the afterlife.
Gold was seen as an immortal metal, a way to embody the gods after death. In 1922, British Egyptologist Howard Carter uncovered the tomb of King Tutankhamun.
Carter famously described King Tut's tomb as having gold, everywhere the glint of gold.
King Tut was buried in a 24-pound gold mask, surrounded by more than 5,000 gold objects that would last forever, as he believed he would.
The sheer volume of gold is mind-boggling.
From ancient pharaohs to monarchs, gold has had a seat on the throne throughout history.
Gold is synonymous with power and prestige and value.
Royalty and gold are so closely intertwined because crowns, the symbol of royalty, are often made of gold.
But one stands out above the rest.
The crown jewel of the crown jewels, no pun intended, is St. Edward's crown.
The 300-year-old crown was used in the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953. Gold plays a shining role in nearly all of our religious ceremonies and traditions. It embellishes church walls, accents religious iconography, and illuminates holy texts.
And it's a way to demonstrate power and purity.
We associate gold with sacredness. That's why many of the objects that are used liturgically are made of gold.
It is a workable metal. You can shape it, which makes it particularly valuable for ornamentation.
A very small piece of gold the size of a pea could be hammered into a sheet a half meter square.
The thin sheets, called gold leaf, are applied over existing objects like statues and picture frames.
So it allows you to bring the luster of gold to almost any surface.
Before Gutenberg revolutionized the world with his printing press, texts were meticulously handcrafted and adorned with gold leaf by trained monks. They were called illuminated manuscripts.
If you're reading a book late at night by candlelight, embellished with gold, the words come alive.
As a way of highlighting the significance of the book or the words that you're using. Gold conveys not only the value of the material, but also the preciousness of the text itself.
One of the world's most cherished illuminated manuscripts comes to us from 9th century Ireland, the Book of Kells.
This is a holy scripture book, the first 4 books of the Gospel of the Life of Jesus Christ.
It is widely considered one of the most important cultural treasures of Ireland.
Gold decks the halls, walls, and ceilings of some of the world's most influential buildings.
Because nothing gives you the wow factor like having gold on your building.
In Rome, the Basilica di Santa Maria Maggiore is gilded with gold. In Burma, hundreds of gold plates dress the Shwedagon Pagoda.
In context of public architecture, gold is power.
When you walk into these rooms, the opulence, you feel the sense of power and grandeur.
Today, as we begin our thought experiment, we strip away the historical and cultural gifts gold has given us. As priceless jewelry and adornments vanish, people around the world lose their sense of heritage and identity, including our artisan.
You literally are taking away one of our anchors to our past.
A lot of the gold jewelry that we have is passed down, and if they were gone, you lose that connection to previous generations.
We'd lose that knowledge about who we are and where we came from.
Even our bullion trader is feeling the pressure as jewelry goes off the market. Around the world, life's most joyous celebrations go dull.
Gold is enormously symbolic in our culture.
If gold vanished, what would the symbol of love be?
Our world becomes a dull, colorless place with the loss of priceless gold jewelry, artifacts, and adornments. Things are about to get worse as we remove golden innovations in exploration and commerce. In today's thought experiment, our world severs personal and cultural ties as precious gold heirlooms and artifacts lose their glint of gold. As our experiment continues, we'll set out to uncover the impact of gold on exploration and commerce. Gold lured explorers and adventurers to unveil a new world. It also spawned greed and conquest. In 1492, Christopher Columbus set sail across the Atlantic.
He set out there at the behest of King Ferdinand of Spain, who said to him, "Get me gold, humanely if you can, but at all hazards, get me gold."
In 1519, Spanish colonizer Hernán Cortés followed suit.
It started the Spanish conquest of Mexico, and in that process, eliminated a lot of culture.
Ultimately, the Aztecs were decimated by Spanish conquistadors.
Many cultures across the Americas suffered a similar fate.
If Columbus hadn't been motivated by gold and hadn't arrived at the shores of the New World, the native populations might still be flourishing in those areas.
You have to think, if there was no greed for gold, the shape of world history would be completely different.
But our grim past also inspired some of our most beloved stories of seeking gold and adventure.
It's in the stories of leprechauns who hide gold in pots at the end of rainbows, Rumpelstiltskin who can spin hay into gold.
One of the most famous rings in literature today is believed to have been inspired by the theft of a cursed gold ring dating back to the 4th century.
An archaeologist took it to a young scholar named J.R.R. Tolkien.
8 years later, the Lord of the Rings franchise was born when Tolkien published The Hobbit.
The dream of finding hidden golden treasure is really common in literature and in our own fantasies.
In the 19th century, the allure of gold and its promise of instant wealth sparked a frenzy known as a gold rush.
If you find a big nugget, you could be set for life.
North America's West Coast saw a surge of newcomers with golden dreams. Canada's Klondike Gold Rush alone attracted 100,000 prospectors.
It was the possibility of those untold riches that incentivized them to make those treacherous journeys.
It's no surprise that one of the most desired precious metals throughout the ages would become the perfect currency.
Well, it had to be something rare, it had to be something durable, and it had to be something that was inherently valuable. Gold fit the quote-unquote bill perfectly.
Gold was first used as money around 700 BCE in Lydia, in what is now Western Turkey. The gold-laced Lydian rivers were also rich with folklore.
It's believed that the Lydian rivers are where King Midas washed his hands to rid himself of the curse of turning everything he touched into gold.
By the 1870s, a bullion-secured paper money system was developed, called the gold standard.
It instilled a lot of confidence in currencies that were used to facilitate trade.
All commerce was really regulated by gold and the value of gold.
The gold standard was dissolved in 1971, but left a lasting impression on our economy.
Remnants of that old system we still see today because countries have a lot of gold stores.
The world's largest gold store lies 80 feet below the streets of Manhattan. The Federal Reserve Vault contains about 6,200 tons of gold, valued at more than $240 billion.
So it's sitting on the bedrock of Manhattan because gold is so dense and so heavy that it would sink if you kept it at street level.
Gold reserves are a safety net in times of economic uncertainty, and the early days of the Second World War were definitely uncertain. Fearing invasion, Winston Churchill moved the UK's gold to a safe location.
He contrived this super secret mission called Operation Fish. The story was that fish were being shipped from Great Britain to Canada.
In fact, 1,500 metric tons of gold were transported in secret.
That is worth the equivalent of about $160 billion today and remains the single largest transfer of physical financial securities in history.
As we conclude this chapter of our thought experiment, gold disappears from the pages of our favorite storybooks.
Gold is present everywhere in our stories throughout cultures.
Without stories of seeking treasure and adventure, the magic is gone.
Gold really broadened our horizons and increased our understanding of the world that we live in.
Gold has driven humans to go further in search of it.
The absence of gold shakes the bedrock of our economy. Around the planet, people lose faith in international and personal commerce.
995 800-gram bars, as promised.
Even our bullion trader grapples with the consequences.
You would see personal confidence in investing and in banking disappear. You would see the stock market crash.
Gold is the safety pin that holds world economies and markets together. Without gold, it would be a catastrophe.
All trade, all transactions basically stop.
As we strip gold innovations from science and medicine, our world flatlines. The loss of gold leaves spirits shattered and global economies shaken. The shock sends our bullion trader into cardiac arrest. As we continue our thought experiment and remove the influence of gold on science, millions around the planet, including the bullion trader, are in jeopardy. In the early days, scientific discovery was very much intertwined with the pursuit of gold.
The modern science of chemistry has an ancient precursor, alchemy.
Alchemists aim to transform base metals into gold.
In doing so, they experimented constantly, and some of that trial and error eventually made its way into what we know as modern-day chemistry.
A science we continue to learn more about.
Oh, not science, kids. Oh, wow.
The fact that we have a periodic table of elements comes back to us from the days of alchemy.
Many revolutionary scientists practiced alchemy, including Isaac Newton and the father of chemistry, Robert Boyle.
No one actually managed to create gold from baser materials, but all kinds of discoveries were made in the process.
Innovations in dye making, glass making, gunpowder, and distillation. Distillation is a key process in chemistry.
It's also the method we continue to use today to make some of our favorite modern-day elixirs, like whiskey, gin, and rum. Although the practice of alchemy was displaced by modern chemistry, its magic lives on in some of pop culture's most beloved works, like Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone was this elusive substance that alchemists searched for centuries.
They thought that if applied to a base metal, would turn that base metal into gold.
Even though alchemy was this sort of pseudoscience, it really helped forge the beginnings of chemistry.
In the 1850s, British chemist Michael Faraday made a huge discovery while observing the properties of tiny gold particles.
He was, unbeknownst to him, really inventing nanoscience.
Nanoscience is the study of materials on a submicroscopic scale.
Gold nanoparticles have been under constant research since Faraday discovered them.
Today, gold nanoparticles are used in medical processes that treat diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's.
We use that now in medicine because we can inject it, track it, follow it, and if it's left behind in the body, it is not dangerous.
The same properties have made gold the metal of choice in dentistry.
We see evidence of the use of gold in dentistry from 4,500 years ago. When you take a look at some of the remains of the Egyptian culture, you can see some very intricate gold wire work.
It conveys, much like jewelry does, your access to wealth.
Gold and other ornamentation was used on teeth as a status symbol by early civilizations, including the Etruscans and the Mayans. Today, gold's uses in dentistry range from filling a small cavity to replacing a tooth.
The gold replacement tooth was the beginning of the merger of dentistry and adornment.
In the 90s, rappers like Flavor Flav and Big Daddy Kane brought gold teeth or grills to the hip-hop scene. By the 2000s, grills were a mainstream accessory and remain popular to this day. As we continue our thought experiment, the consequences of losing gold spill into the fields of science and medicine. Without the alchemist's quest for gold, chemistry may not exist today.
Our modern science of chemistry is based on a magical undertaking that sadly failed in its goal of making gold, but succeeded in giving us a platform
Without the understanding of basic elements and chemical reactions, modern science would return to the Stone Age.
Gold has been an integral part of medicine and health.
Without gold, we could lose many potential technologies and therapies.
From nanoscience to cancer diagnostics to dentistry, a lot of lives would be affected.
Including the life of our bullion trader who's experiencing a medical crisis. Without the use of gold in nanoscience, many diseases go untreated.
That loss of treatments would lead to loss of lives.
So you take away gold, you take away a very great part of the modern medical toolkit.
Next, as we continue and examine gold's contributions to space exploration, our understanding of this planet is in question. Without the beauty, economic, and health impacts gold has deposited into our lives, the world begins to spin into chaos. As we continue our thought experiment, we'll explore the special properties of gold that take us out of this world. This foreign metal is right at home in outer space. Gold's otherworldly properties lend themselves well to these harsh conditions.
It's boiling hot and devastatingly cold in space.
Gold reflects harmful radiation and insulates vital spacecraft components. But one of gold's most critical roles in space is to protect the astronauts themselves.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. You're right in front, Ed. You look beautiful. I'd be like $1 million. I'm gonna pick up.
When Ed White stepped out of Gemini 4 in 1965, he became the first American to walk in space. But it was just him and his helmet against the ravages of space.
The astronauts' helmets incorporate a visor which has a very thin gold coating on it to reflect the infrared radiation from the sun.
Gold also encapsulated the 25-foot-long hose that supplied life-giving oxygen to Ed and tethered him to his spacecraft.
Without it, he wouldn't have been able to survive.
But gold's duty as protector doesn't end there. The precious metal safeguards important information and messages from the inhabitants of planet Earth. A gold phonograph record was included aboard the Voyager spacecrafts launched in 1977, a greeting for extraterrestrial beings.
This 12-inch gold-plated disc contains sounds and images from planet Earth.
So we sent Beethoven, we sent children from all over the world saying hello in all their different languages.
Konnichiwa. O genki desu ka?
Hola y saludos a todos.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
It's now 22 billion kilometers away from Earth, making it the most distant human-made object out in space.
It sparked the cosmic imagination of an entire planet, including our young family. Another visionary spacecraft hovers above our planet, capturing brilliant images of time and space, previously unimaginable to our species.
The Hubble Space Telescope is looking at images so far away that they're very dim when they get to the sensor. Gold plays such an important part in making sure that other pollutants don't distort that dim image. If you're gonna park this incredibly sophisticated telescope outside the Earth's atmosphere, you wanna make sure that it is relatively maintenance-free. And gold is used to help protect a lot of that equipment.
A gold ion barrier shields Hubble's camera sensors, allowing its incredible sharp focus.
One of the most amazing photographs ever taken is the ultra deep field image that Hubble took. A tiny, tiny, tiny portion of the night sky.
Images like this one reveal that there are more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand in all the beaches on Earth combined.
The universe is so incredibly gigantic, it's mind-boggling.
Looking into the distance to view cosmic history isn't the only golden opportunity. NASA is planning an unmanned mission to an asteroid called 16 Psyche.
I hope we discover that the asteroid is made of solid gold, because that would be very exciting.
16 Psyche is thought to be the motherlode of gold and precious metals, with an estimated value of $700 quintillion.
How much money is that? Well, if you divided that equally among every person on Earth, it would be roughly $92 billion each.
For now, we'll have to settle for the wealth of information gold provides.
There are over 2,000 satellites circling the Earth right now, transmitting enormous amounts of data that we use every day.
Isabella, come on, we're gonna be late.
Okay.
Our artisan and millions around the globe rely on satellite services like GPS daily.
From weather data to TV and the internet and, of course, GPS. All of that fundamentally relies on gold.
Gold tape and coating protects satellites against ultraviolet radiation.
In the harsh environment of space, you want materials that will last a long time, and gold is perfect for that.
But now, as we continue our thought experiment and remove gold's contributions to space, our planet grapples with the consequences. Without the protection of gold, satellites orbiting the Earth become unreliable and GPS inaccessible.
Satellites are so critical to our survival today.
Even our artisan is feeling the impact.
Imagine if satellites didn't work all of a sudden. Really, quite literally, we would be lost without gold.
With no gold to keep our technology and our astronauts safe, space exploration grinds to a halt. The images that reveal the origin of our planet and beyond are unattainable.
So our understanding of each other and of how we fit into the broader context of the universe would be compromised.
Without gold in space, our safety is threatened and our universe gets much smaller.
We would no longer be a spacefaring species.
Gold has enriched our lives and broadened our borders on Earth and beyond. The loss of gold's contributions to culture, medicine, and commerce are felt by people around the world, including our artisan family and bullion trader. As our thought experiment continues, we explore the use of gold in electronics. Gold sparked a change in the 1940s invention that ushered in the electronics era.
The modern age of personal computing and electronics really began with the transistor, and gold is a vital component.
The key to the transistor is having two contacts very, very close together.
In 1947, scientists at Bell Labs created the first transistor using gold foil sliced with a razor to create two contacts a hair's width apart.
They were able to prove that using a very small current, you could control a very large current. This led to the miniaturization of a lot of electronics that we now take for granted.
Our artisan's family and families around the world use technology made possible by this one invention.
Transistors aren't just in computers, they're in cameras, they're in game consoles, they're in radios. All of those technologies exist because of gold.
The electronics revolution took another leap forward in 1958, thanks to electrical engineer Jack Kilby and his integrated circuit, which combined multiple transistors on a single chip.
Prior to the 1940s, most of our electronics were based on vacuum tubes. Vacuum tubes are big, they're bulky, and they get hot, and they have short lives.
The world's first computer, the ENIAC, used 18,000 vacuum tubes to perform its calculations. Today, the computing power of this 30-ton machine can be contained on a chip smaller than a grain of rice, thanks to the transistor and integrated circuits. Gold also plays a vital role in the connectivity of almost every device we rely on, including life-saving technologies used on patients, like our bullion trader.
Gold is a great conductor. It doesn't corrode and it's very reliable.
Every bit of consumer electronics and the electronics that are used in our corporations has some gold in it.
Military equipment, toasters, cars, and cell phones all depend on gold to make solid, reliable electrical connections between internal components.
We're all carrying gold right now, even if we're not aware of it.
SIM cards are the modular, exchangeable frontal lobe that every cell phone needs to identify itself. It needs the gold for its non-corrosive contacts and its strong, micro-thin signal wire.
More than 300 tons of gold are used annually in electronic components, and it comes at a price.
There's really a heavy human and environmental cost.
If you took a mountain of consumer electronic waste and an equal-sized mountain of gold-rich ore, the stuff that a prospector would say, this is worth exploring, you would recover more gold from the mountain of consumer electronic waste.
It's estimated that a ton of iPhones, and I don't just mean a lot of iPhones, but 2,000 pounds of iPhones, would produce 324 times more gold than a ton of gold ore mined from Peru.
Although each smartphone uses a minute amount of gold, the sheer quantity of phones puts a high price tag on our electronic waste.
There was a study that was done in 2016, and it found that $22 billion worth of gold is thrown away every year in the form of e-waste.
Apple came up with a way to reclaim 1 kilogram of gold from every 100,000 iPhones.
Apple developed a robot called Daisy, who can disassemble an iPhone in under 20 seconds and remove its valuable parts.
As we reach the end of our thought experiment, gold is stripped away from electronic circuitry and connectors, leaving the world in shutdown crisis mode.
Every car on the road these days has all sorts of electronics in it, leading to the displays that are on the dashboard. You would lose all of your information.
Without gold, computers crash, cars spin out of control, and all communication is lost.
We basically wouldn't have the ability to communicate. It would be a calamity.
Hi, Dad.
What?
Dad?
Without gold, there'd be no SIM cards. Without SIM cards, it wouldn't be possible to have this point-to-point internetworking of cellular phones that the whole world depends on today. We depend now on an infrastructure of communications and electronics.
Without gold, all electronics, including the medical equipment keeping our trader alive, fails.
All of those things would vanish without gold.
the society that we have today, not even a shadow of it.
The loss of gold's contributions to our culture, economy, electronics, and medical innovations has been catastrophic.
It's hard to even imagine a world that didn't have gold in it.
Luckily, we don't have to. Our thought experiment is over, and gold is still part of our lives. It's back to business as usual for our bullion trader, and a safe return home for our artisan and her daughter. Their lives, and many lives around the globe, are richer with gold in them. As we look to the future, gold will continue to be at the forefront of important and life-saving innovations.
Gold and nanoparticles are being investigated for their ability to remove pollutants from the waters. So in the future, gold could play a bigger role in water purification.
And gold may be the key to our future energy demands.
Scientists at the University of Illinois are experimenting with spherical gold particles, which can be used in a form of artificial photosynthesis, which can basically take sunlight and convert it into energy. Imagine the possibility of having an essentially unlimited green source of energy. It would completely transform the world.
Gold's transformative powers advance beyond our world, even our solar system.
The Hubble Space Telescope revolutionized the field of astronomy, and James Webb is going to do the same on a much larger scale.
So the James Webb Space Telescope will be the largest ever to be launched into space.
And because of the use of gold, we'll be able to look farther and deeper into our universe than ever before.
Gold is going to show up in electrical circuits and contacts. It's going to show up in cryogenic components. It's going to show up in filters and other aspects of shaping light.
The James Webb Space Telescope will be able to look back 13 billion light years to see the very first galaxies that were created in the universe.
Gold is a gift from the stars, and thanks to gold, we're going to get pictures of the universe that are going to blow away everything we've ever seen before.
There's a beautiful art in contemplating that we're using gold in order to understand the phenomena in the galaxy that give rise to gold in the first place.
Gold is enormously symbolic in our culture. We covet it so much. It's rare, it's beautiful, and therefore it's valuable.
From the heart of a star to detecting the light from the earliest stars, our outlook is golden.
I don't see the romance between humans and gold going away at any time.